We go forever and ever, yeah. You know that I'm much better, yeah. You wish that you can do better, no, it won't let up, We go forever and ever, yeah. I go and create the pressure, yeah. You wish that you can do better, You wish that you can do better, yeah. Ooh. We go forever and ever. We go forever and ever.
Welcome everyone to Coaching in Session. My name is Michael Rearden, and I'll be your mindset coach today. And today we're going to be talking about the steps to delegation. And if you are a busy person, whether in aspects of family, career, whatever you want to be busy in, you can delegate some things in your life or on your plate to other people. But how do you know when you need to get to that point? Because you might be doing everything and you might just be scraping by. But in life, it's not about just scraping by. It's about being on top, right? Learning to be abundant, learning to be even more efficient than you are right now. There are ways and there are methods that you can make your 24 hours be more than just that. Oftentimes, many people, we get a good amount of healthy choices in our day, but then after we make poor choices. So for example, we might wake up in the morning and we might have a good breakfast and we might do a workout, but then we run out of good choices sometime in the day, maybe in the afternoon or in the evening. And we say, you know what, I'm going to have a cake or I'm going to have a pizza, right? Not saying that you can't, but there is balance. There is some type of routine or some type of habits you have to form in order to have a healthy diet. So if you are going to be having pizza every single night of the week, probably a bad thing. If you're going to be not working out in the mornings or in the evenings, at least 2 to 3 times a week is probably not the best thing either. Not saying that you need exercise in order to be healthy, but your body needs to move. It wants to move. So if we're not doing what we need for our body, imagine what happens to our mind when we're not doing the things that our mind needs. So if we are overwhelmed and overburdened every single day, whether it be because of our work, our circumstances, our relationships, friends, family, whoever, we are going to be looking at an aspect of our life that we need to delegate. And today we're going to be talking about my most recent blog, The Steps to Delegation. In the blog, we're going to give 5 steps on how you can effectively delegate your life, certain areas, because there's some areas in your life that you're going to want to keep, and we're going to be talking about that right now. If you're new to the channel, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and then to head over to reardenconcepts.com, and then head over to the resources tabs, and then to blogs, and then you will notice that you will see the steps to delegation right on top after you click the blog button. If you are a audio or video listener, you can also go down into the description box below and you can find a link to this blog, because this blog especially is going to be a lengthy one because this is a tune-up series. So tune-up series is, again, are going to be for clients who are people who have a strong mindset already, meaning they understand exactly what they have to do. There's no guesswork. They know when they wake up, they have 24 hours or their timer begins where they say, okay, how can I make the best of my day? Sometimes people forget that that timer is ticking, even if they're on their smartphone, even if they're tired, even if they want to be lazy. We have to be effective in our day. How can we be the most effective? How can we reach our full potential, our maximum potential? Sometimes we have to take things off our plate. And it's not that we can't do everything. It's just that we know we shouldn't. So there's going to be things that we can delegate. For example, cutting the lawn. You might love cutting the lawn, but it might take you an hour, 2 hours to cut the lawn. Because you have to weed whack, you prune, you have to pick up the clippings. I mean, there's a lot to lawn care more than just cutting the grass. So you might be finding all these little things you want to do in your property, and then you realize, wow, you've been outside all day. Well, maybe you're a business owner and you missed maybe 15 calls. And those calls, some of them can equate to money, maybe not all of them. But let's say you got 1/3 of those calls as clients. And let's say you charge $100 an hour. So you will get 5 new clients for $500 if you were able to meet with them at least once that month. Now, maybe you met with them more, so it could have been even more money than that. So you essentially lost $500. So how much are you worth? How much do you charge an hour? And that question can be a difficult one to ask, but it is an essential one to ask, because if you don't know your worth, then how can you figure out what your time is valued as? Because if you're cutting your lawn for 2 hours, 3 hours, and you're charging $100, so you just basically lost $300, because it doesn't cost $300 for a landscaper to come mow your lawn or to do all the hedges and stuff like that. It could be close. I'm not saying that they're very cheap and that you can just find a landscaper who's going to do everything for pennies on the dollar. You might be spending maybe $100, $150, most $200. But here's what happened in that time you weren't cutting the grass. You answered those 15 calls and you got 1/3 of those clients as clients. So essentially, you paid the landscaper $150 to say in the high end, maybe $200, right? You got 5 clients, and then guess what happened? Now you just made $500 minimum, because most people who get coaching, especially the type of work I do, they don't just get one session. Now, if they do get one session, that's perfectly fine. Maybe they just need a tune-up, similar to the tune-up series. They just want to check in. Perfectly fine. But most people want to be on a type of plan, a regimen, where they say, I'm going to commit to coaching for 3 months, or I'm going to commit to coaching for 6 months, whatever they need to commit to. And typically I give them a good ballpark of how long it's going to take them, especially understanding their mindset, understanding where they are, and then understanding what they want. Because if they want something very big, grandiose, and it's going to take some time to build that up, we just can't come up with abundance out of thin air, because we have to change our subconscious mind. Because oftentimes we have limiting beliefs that are going to be in our bodies, in our minds, that we have to get rid of. And there's something that's stopping us from being more in our days, whether it's our habits, whether it's our make-believe circumstances, or it's our mindset. So we need to figure out how we can be effective, how we can take things off our plate that are non-essential to us. And I give us 5 steps. The first step is, what do you enjoy? The joy aspect of the work. The second is, do you have time to keep doing what you're doing? So looking at your timing as one of the factors. The third is going to be, what do you give up in your current workload if you keep doing it? And then you have to figure out, what do you lose and what do you gain? And then, can someone else do the job better than you? And then you have to figure out, are you the best person for that job? And then the last area is going to be dealing with your zone of genius. What can only you do that needs your hand, that needs your touch, that needs your attention? That's what we should be focusing on. So we're going to be looking at steps 1 through 5, working through them, and then figuring out, what do we need to delegate in our life? So if you're new to business and being a busy person, whether you have been a college student and then now you have a career and then you got a dog or a cat or a relationship, or maybe you have to help out your parents somehow right now, your plate might be getting more full. And I'm not saying that when your plate gets full, your life becomes impossible, because you can make the impossible possible. You just have to know what you're doing. Oftentimes, many people, they don't know what they're doing. So they just kind of push through and they just overwhelm themselves. One of the things I always recommend to anyone, do not allow burnout in your life. If you get that burnout, you know how long it could take for that burnout to go away, for you to recover from that? It could take months. So you are literally operating at a lower efficiency for months because you decided to burn out. Because you can always press pause, you can always put on the brakes, but oftentimes many people, they don't even know how to recognize that burnout. So if you understand that burnout is a thing, how to recognize burnout, what are the steps needed to do if you start to feel burnout, and then make the changes, you are going to be in that state of mind of always worrying about, okay, this is a lot of work. Can I do this? This is a lot on my plate. And I'm not saying that if there's a lot on your plate, you can't accomplish it. You have to figure that out for yourself. For me, I have a lot on my plate every single week. I have to juggle so many different hats, so many different things, and it's difficult for me to be effective when I have all these other things to worry about. Whether it's a podcast, I have to make sure it's edited, make sure it comes out on time, make sure everything is really great. I have a social media manager who helps me with my social media. She does a fantastic job. There's certain areas of the business that don't need me. For example, emailing people. I understand why it can be important for maybe the CEO or the founder or whoever to send a message to someone, especially if it's like a private account. Now, of course, if you reach out to me, coachingasession@gmail.com, and if you don't get me an assistant, a manager, the only thing you have to say is that you need a consultation. You will be in front of me, whether it be on a Zoom call, phone call, or if you're local, we can even do something in person. So we are just trying to figure out how we can be effective in our days. And I have found the things that make me most effective are when I coach and when I create content. So right now I'm creating content, and this content will be edited and it will be scheduled to go up for your viewing pleasure. So you get to figure out, all right, cool. I get to watch some coaching in session. I get to listen to some motivation in motion. I get to read some blogs. I get to do something with my life to make it better. The issue is many people, they just try to do everything themselves. So at one point, I used to do everything myself. I used to do all my social media myself. I used to do all of the editing myself. I used to do all the emails myself. I used to do it all. I was a one-man show. But then it got to the point where it was like I was leaving a lot of money on the table. And it's not that I need the money, not that I want the money, but the money signifies people investing in themselves. So if someone invests in themselves to get better, to get the mindset coaching that they need, then of course they're going to realize I'm making that change. I'm making an effort for me to get to a better mindset. And if you know anything about my mission, my goal, I want to have an impact on a certain amount of people in the world. And I understand the value of investing in yourself and putting some skin in the game. Because if I simply just offer my coaching for free, it's not effective. And it's not that the coaching changes. It's just that the value that the person perceives of the coaching is the perception of the value of it. So that means if my coaching is $500, someone is going to automatically assume, oh my God, his coaching must be phenomenal. But if my coaching is $10 or free, people are going to say, well, he must not be any good if he's charging so little. That's the psychology of the mind. I was reading a book about the art of persuasion, and we talk about that, where I can have a set price where it is extremely affordable. And my pricing is still affordable in the sense of what mindset coaches and life coaches charge. But you don't necessarily get a value unless you go with the coaching programs. Because if you go for the individual sessions, you're going to be paying full price. And that is going to be night and day to what you would pay if you decided to invest in yourself. And actually, some people are going to get the individual coaching because they're going to say, wow, he charges this much money. He must be good. But then there's going to be the coaching programs where it's going to be way more affordable for people. So you have to ask yourself, do you want to invest in yourself for the long term or for the short term? Sometimes people invest in themselves in the short term. It could have an impact, but sometimes people need that longer stint. Because if we do everything quick, how long does it last? It's similar to motivation. Motivation is one of those things that is temporary, where it's going to be there and then it dissipates. So you have to figure out just how valuable you are. And then once you figure that out, then you can begin the steps to delegation. Because if we look at step 1, you have to ask yourself, do you enjoy what you do? Because I don't enjoy cutting the lawn. I don't enjoy painting. I don't enjoy doing handiwork around the house, even though I do some. Sometimes I'm in the mood for it. But oftentimes I'm going to call someone to come, hey, I need my sink fixed, or hey, I need my lawn cut. I'm going to do that. But typically it's all scheduled. So there's not much maintenance that I have to do. But if there was a lot of maintenance that I had to do, I would make sure that it was being done automatically, where I didn't have to worry about it. Because if I had to worry about every little thing, I would forget things. And I have lists on notepads in my phone, also in the notes of things that I have to do, of things that I have to delegate. Because I'm finally realizing I can't do it all. And especially being a new father and having an infant, it is a task. Let me tell you something. If you're not a parent, take this time to grow and to do what you have to do. But if you are a parent, understand that you still can do it. You just have to take some things off your plate that you had before and then focus on your family and then focus on the areas that you're most inclined to keep. So things you like, of course. We're going to get into that in a moment. But you have to enjoy what you're doing, because if you don't, then you're not going to do it, or you're not going to do it effectively. Or when you do it, it's going to take you a lot longer than if someone else did it. So we can use our time effectively. We just have to know how to give it to someone if we don't like doing it. So if you like doing something and it fulfills you and it makes you happy and intrinsically gives you something, keep it. But if it's something that's mundane and you just have to do it, maybe pass it off. And then we look at step 2. Do you have time to keep doing what you're doing? Because if you're still doing everything that's on your plate and you're still doing this and that and X and Y and Z, and then you figure out that at the end of the day, you don't have time and you have so many other things that have not been done or completed, then it's time to really figure out, do you have enough time in your day? And you might not have enough time in your day, but guess what? We all have 24 hours. So we have to be effective in those 24 hours that many times people are not effective in those 24 hours. So if we're not effective in those 24 hours, how can we be more effective? If we're leaving things on a to-do list, how can we get more things done on our to-do list? If we write a whole to-do list out, let's say you have 10 things, maybe 25 different things. I really only want you to work on maybe 3 to 5 of those things, because all the other stuff is just going to be distractions. It's going to be fluff. It's going to be things that are not essential, things that don't need your attention, your touch. So if they don't need you, why do you focus on them? Why do you give your attention to them? It's because sometimes we don't even realize that we're wasting all this time. So we do have to ask ourselves, do we have time to keep on doing this? And the answer might be no. So you might have to hire someone, bring someone in to help you do those other tasks, those non-essential tasks, those non-important tasks, because then you're getting more done in your day. And then also you're making the impact that you should be. And then we go into step 3. We have to look at our current workload. If you have a workload that is tremendous, it's like, whoa, this is a lot of work, right? So you have to go do maybe 100 clients in a day, right? That's a feat that I don't know is possible, especially if you're doing individual coaching. If you're doing group coaching, then of course it's going to be more feasible for that to happen. Oftentimes, it's not going to be feasible for you to have 100 clients in a day, especially if sessions are an hour. You have maybe room for 12 to 15 clients, maybe. If you care about sleep, if you care about your family, if you care about health and fitness, you have to make some adjustments. So you might be making $1,500 a day, but are you killing yourself in the end? And you have to have that, I guess you can say, that knowledge, that base, that set of wisdom that you're not just killing yourself because you're trying to chase some money. You have to figure out what do you want to attain, figure out a plan, and then delegate the rest. Because you might not have the time. And you have to figure out what do you give up when you are taking on all those clients. And then you have to figure out what you gain. Oftentimes, many people give up the wrong things. They give up their family. They give up their health, their freedom, and they try to gain money. Right? Now, money is just one of those renewable resources that is very easy to attain. Many people, they treat money as a scarcity type of thing where, oh, I'm going to be chasing the money. I don't have enough money. The reason you don't have enough money is because you don't have the mindset for money. And you have this mindset of, oh, I'm going to do this by myself because only I can do it. You're not delegating the work properly. There's ways that you can make more money if you're more effective in your time. The issue is many people just get caught in that workflow of busy. So they're busy. They're constantly busy. They're constantly moving, but they're not making any progress. They think they're making progress. They think they're moving. But if they had to put their progress on paper, they would see that they did not go far from the start, especially when they know the end goal. So oftentimes, many people, they give themselves an end goal, a place to reach, and then they realize that they're not making the progress that they would love to because they're over there distracting themselves with other things that don't matter. So we have to figure out what do we lose and what do we gain when we delegate things. And oftentimes when we delegate the things that we shouldn't be doing, we gain a lot more beneficial things. So we create a better impact. We might have a better lifestyle. We might have better relationships. All of that stems from when we give up the things that we don't need. But if we keep the things that we don't need, then guess what happens? Burnout happens, fatigue, laziness, procrastination. And if you give up the wrong things, for example, let's say I said, I don't want to do coaching anymore, but I actually love coaching. I might start to be stir crazy. Like, I want to coach someone. I want to do this. I want to do what I'm good at versus, oh, I'm not coaching. Okay, well, that's not a problem. I'm doing all these other things. I can't be concerned about that. Figure out what you really want and then start to make plans for it. And the plans don't have to happen overnight. You might have a year plan for you to finally delegate your life. I'm going to give this away. I'm going to give that away. When this happens, I'm going to do this. Figure out the plan. Because once you have the plan, then the only thing you have to do is implement it. And it could be a 3-month plan. It could be a 6-month plan, whatever it is. If you're working with a coach, they're going to let you know when that's going to be. Typically, like I said, I like 3-month plans. 3-month plans are easy for the mind. The reason why they're easy for the mind is because you give the mind some time to finally acclimate, to think about what is going to happen, and there's not going to be any type of arguments. You want to get in shape? Give yourself 3 months. Hey, you're going to get in shape, buddy, whether you like it or not. You start the process so you just don't cold shock your body or cold shock your mind, and then you finally get used to it and you're in that regiment. Then that's when you can shine the most. And then you can continue to delegate things that you don't need or things that you outgrow or things that you learn that you don't like to do. There's going to be people who are able to do the job as efficiently or more efficiently and effectively than if you could. There's going to be people who can edit better than me, maybe. There's going to be people who can write emails faster than me or creating social media posts. I mean, there's many things that don't need my touch, or lawn care, for example. Again, I don't like lawn care. But you learn different things as you grow up. In the beginning, you might want your kids to know how to cut the grass and to do accounting work, and to do all those boring things behind the door stuff. But guess what happens? Later on, they might have to delegate that too. So you teach them how to delegate. And you can even tell them, I'm going to delegate my lawn care to you. And then, of course, that's their job. That's their assignment. And they might have a hard time in the beginning keeping up with the work because it is a lot of work, but they learn how to be responsible. They learn how to do time management. Many things that we don't realize that kids don't know. And then we look at step 4. Can someone do it better than me? I touched base already on this because if someone can do the job better than you, why not allow them to do the job? So if someone can cut the grass better than me, if someone can paint the house better than me, if someone can cook better than me, now there is something that we have to address here. Just because someone can do it better than me doesn't mean that intrinsically I'm going to feel better if they do it. For example, I'm sure there's someone who can have a better garden than me. I can hire them to take care of my garden, and they can do exactly what they need to do to make sure the garden flourishes and is amazing and it have all these vegetables and fruits. The problem is, I love to garden. I like to be out there watering the plants, planting the seeds. It's just something that I love. It's because it's very meditative to me, where it's like I'm in that state of mindfulness. I'm not worried about anything else really when I'm out there. It's just a sense for me to get away, to escape. Same thing with the gym. I go to the gym for not only for my health and fitness, but for my mind too. Because if I don't go to the gym, I'm going stir crazy. So even if I'm on vacation, I will go to the workout facility they have. They'll be in most of the places don't have necessarily good workout facilities. So I do my best with what I got. So I have to figure out if the task I'm going to give away, delegate, if it's going to be something that intrinsically makes me happy, makes me fulfilled. I like cooking, for example, too, so I probably won't hire a chef just willy-nilly. Now, if I was a person who didn't like cooking, guess what? I would probably hire a chef. And I would hire a chef if I ran out of time. For example, let's say I'm very busy in my days and I'm working 10, 12 hours straight. I want to have a good, healthy meal, so I'm not going to just stop at a fast food place to get some food or go to the grocery store and get whatever is pre-made. I want something maybe it's home cooked. So maybe I hire a chef for $60 an hour. As long as I can work, make more over $60 an hour, make sure the taxes is also there too, because Uncle Sam wants his piece. I'm making sure that I'm making a profit, but then I'm also getting what I need. So I'm getting a healthy meal. And sometimes people think that, oh, if they just get some fast food and they can save that $100 for something else, right? I'm sure many people are thinking, you know how much money I can save by me cutting my own lawn or me doing this or me doing that by myself? Maybe. But you have to ask yourself, how much time are you giving? I would go to the barbershop for maybe an hour to 2 hours, maybe sometimes longer depending on the line. And I would just sit there hour after hour after hour. But then you can realize, hey, you can make an appointment with a more high-end barber than just your local barber. Maybe if you're in a rush, you do the cut yourself. That's even quicker. You don't have to leave the house. You just go get the clippers. Boom, your haircut is done. You start to realize there's going to be areas that you can save some time, shave off some time. Now, of course, you might not be really good at it again. So you might not be the best at having it, doing haircuts or painting or cooking. You can delegate it, especially if you don't get anything from it. I don't care if I cut my hair or if someone else cuts my hair. I don't get anything from it. I don't necessarily care if someone cuts my lawn or paints my house or repairs something that's broken. I don't need that. I would rather do something different with my time. So you have to figure out, what do you want to do with your time? What do you want to do in your days? And that leads us to our step 5, our zone of genius. Because if we are in our zone of genius, guess what happens? We are going to be figuring out exactly what we want to do. I want to do this, and I only want to do this. So if you're a coach, or if you're a motivational speaker, or if you're a writer, you're doing exactly that. Versus, oh, I have to send an email. Oh, I have to cook. Oh, I have to clean. Oh, I have to go walk the dogs. I mean, you might get something from walking the dogs. I'm not saying that you don't. But if you're a busy professional, there's going to be certain things that you can delegate. So how do you figure out what needs to be delegated? What I want you to do right now is I want you to write down a list of all the things you do. So in your day, you're going to have a very unique list. No one should have the same exact list as you do. Some people might have similar lists. Your list is going to be very unique to you. And I want you to write down every single thing you do. You might do one thing a day, maybe 10 things, 20 things, who knows, right? Write down everything you do, from picking out your clothes, to brushing your teeth, to taking your shower, to cooking, to cleaning, to driving. I mean, everything you do. turning on the computer, signing in, doing emails, everything you do. And I want you to have that list. And I want you just to take one thing. You might have a list of 20 things. Take one thing that you know you don't have to do anymore, but you give it to someone else. Hopefully it's not brushing your teeth. That's nasty. And brushing your teeth only takes 2 minutes. So you might say, you know what? I don't have to go to the grocery store anymore. I'm going to call someone to do it for me. They have services that can do it. There's apps that can do it where you can say what you want from the grocery store. They either bring it to your car or they bring it to your home. And this is not to say you need to be lazy either, because if you're doing this and you know you have time to do something instead of you going to the grocery store, you're on your smartphone or you're on the TV or you're watching Netflix, or you're watching movies that you saw already before, a series, guess what? You're doing it wrong. That's not delegation. That's a laziness. There's a difference between delegating and then laziness. If you have to delegate something, that means that you don't have time on your plate to do it at all. All right. And you need to create more time to create more meaning in your life. So again, if you're a coach, if you're a doctor, you want to meet with clients, you have to have time on your schedule, time in your schedule for that to happen. Because if you don't have time, then you can say, you know what? I don't have time for this to happen. How can I create more time in my life? And the steps for delegation is talking just about that. How can we delegate our time, our days to be more effective in ourselves? Whether to create intrinsic meaning in our life, joy, fulfillment, and anything that we want, we can delegate a lot of the different things. And even in my life, I'm in the process of delegating all of those little things that I don't have to do. If I can delegate it, it will be done. Because yes, I can go through that process of learning how to do it. I've done that process before. It is time consuming. You waste months, but you gain the knowledge. The problem with gaining that knowledge is that now either you have to make the choice of spending time to do it or finding someone else to do it, even though you know how to do it. I always recommend, if you can delegate it and it's not essential, to give it to someone else, especially if the cost ratio of what you make versus what it costs weighs in your favor, meaning you're going to get more at the end of the day. So you might, again, make $100 an hour. You're going to hire a chef for $60 an hour. Uncle Sam's going to get $30. Let's say you get $10. You still come out on top. You might have made $10 that hour, but you actually did something that's still intrinsically fulfilling. You met with a client. So you are still doing what you love. You are now being healthier. And then, of course, you're still making a profit. So your profits don't have to be huge. And I think sometimes people think that they have to have this huge profit in order to be successful. Some people, they get 5 cents a unit just for an item that they sell. And 5 cents might not seem like a lot, but it adds up to more than 5 cents in the long run. So that 5 cents will compound and be more. You just have to see that 5 cents as something valuable rather than a fraction of what you could be earning. The steps to delegation is going to be essential for you to understand how to be more effective in your day. If you find that you're a busy individual and that you're having a hard time maintaining your life, maintaining the relationships that you keep, or just upkeeping everything that you have going for yourself, you might be teetering on the edge of burnout. So you might have to give some work away to someone. And the more work you can give, the more things you can do that are different than what you are doing right now. That's why people like Elon Musk, he makes sure he hires the best managers, the best people to run the companies that he has. Because yes, he is the man. He is the person who's going to be doing a lot. He has his hands in a lot, but he knows how to make time. He understands where he needs to be rather than I need to be everywhere. Sometimes we would like to be everywhere, but we can't be everywhere. So how can we have our hand exactly where it needs to be? We train individuals to do what we have to do. We teach them exactly what needs to be done. And then they do that work for us. It's the sense of having an employee. If you're a business and you have employees, it's because you understand that you can't do everything yourself. Yeah, you can be a business owner, have a restaurant, be the chef, be the cashier, and be the waitress or the server. Guess what? There's going to be a time when you're not going to be able to do that, because there's going to be more orders for you to cook than you're able to cash out or to serve to the people. Not impossible. It's just that you will get to burnout a lot quicker. And if you know anything about burnout, we want to avoid it again. So if you are having trouble delegating your life, if you are always teetering on the edge of burnout, of procrastination, of laziness, maybe learning how to delegate certain things, hiring certain people to do certain jobs for you, and making sure your value is high enough so you're not losing out just for delegating your work. Because you want to make sure that you are making a profit, that you are making progress in your lifestyle and your life, because there are things intrinsically that you want to accomplish, whether it be material or it could be some type of status you're trying to reach. Whatever it is you're looking for, you don't have to stop. So make sure you figure out how to delegate things, and then from there, you're going to see that you have more time in your day to be who you are, to be who you're meant to be, and so you can live in your zone of genius, and then that is where you can change the world. My name is Michael Rearden. I'm a mindset coach. If you have any questions, you can email me coachinginsession@gmail.com, and I will see everyone on the next episode of Coaching in Session. Until then, everyone, take care.